Please join me in welcoming our repeat guest, Mr. Benjamin Carbone, back to the show.
Hey, man. Happy to be here.
Good to see you.
Always love coming back onto this podcast.
Thanks for coming, man.
And a recent rebrand.
Recent rebrand. And I think one thing that aligns really well with the rebrand is when I did the pivot to the new podcast, it really aligns with where my business is heading. And I think for you too, It aligns really well with the transition.
Yeah, and I think that's the evolution of entrepreneurship and what we discuss all the time, what we're doing with the informed investor. But just, it's a causation of operating at a high level. You have to implement systems, and look at your business in a long-term lens. And I think that's, a perfect rebrand for what we're all trying to accomplish.
100%. And I think when I was talking earlier, I was filming a solo podcast, and I was talking about that type of mindset shift where once you know where you want to go, the work you're doing today should be intentionally directed towards that outcome. So rather than focusing on the input, how many operational tasks or small problems can I solve, it's reframing your mind to be like, okay, well, if this is my vision, I need to solve these bigger problems. Absolutely. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs get stuck in that. But for those listening, every time you come on, we've got you got something new going on, some new ventures. But tell me, what do you got going on right now that you're excited about?
Yeah, so I feel like I wear a bunch of different hats, and I guess I can put it this way, the hat is the same color, maybe just a different shape. And what I mean by that is everything that I do is rooted in real estate in some fashion. But the different shapes is the different facets of that industry that I'm working within. So obviously my investment portfolio, always growing and optimizing that in ways that I can, up to 45 units, 53 if you include my lovely partner Brooke's 8 unit that I now manage.
The gift that keeps on giving.
The gift that keeps on giving. Those tenants, gotta love them. That, but also I have one flip currently going under agreement with one in process. So a 3 unit in Southbridge, Massachusetts that originally we were going to Burr, but just with the trend of the market and where I can reallocate the capital from selling that, it's more beneficial to offload it. And it's a 3 unit. I like to stay 4 units and above just based on management, cash flow, things of that nature. And also the bedroom count in that building isn't necessarily the best. It's 2 beds on each floor. In that market, you want 3 beds on average. And then I have a 2-family that I'm closing on Friday that'll be in Dudley, Mass. That I'm flipping with a GC partner. So essentially I'm just bringing the capital. He's bringing all the resources of the labor. So that is one facet of it. Then we close deals. Just hit a record-breaking year in 2025. We closed about $100 million worth of sales.
Congratulations.
Thanks. 18 agents. We're strong. We're moving into this new year with bigger goals, bigger ambitions, looking to cultivate, more impact in the community, but also more impact in the real estate industry space. And then, we stage homes. So that's a staging business that we created in the fall of this year with Ashley Eisenhower. So it's me, Brooke, Ashley Eisenhower, Ashley Marama. She's a lead designer along with the other Ashley. And that's just catering to our sales side of the business. So we're looking at ways to create an ecosystem around us that is allowing us to do more for our clients, but do more for ourselves in the business way, right? So creating more streamlined operations around all fronts. But then we have the informed investor.
Absolutely.
Which is another thing that works so well and complements what we do personally, but also what we do for our clients. And that's helping them reach their goals of multifamily investment, home ownership, and education. Because we said, at the beginning when we started this, is we wish we had some kind of platform or community where when we were starting, we could have found full-on education, where rather than hitting all these speed bumps and left turns, we could have just went straight from A to B.
Get there faster.
Yeah, and I think that's, our objective with the informed investor. So all those hats, complement each other and make me, Ben Carbone, Close with Carbone Real Estate, but a bunch of different things happening.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. Yeah, it's funny. Not a lot of time passes when we have these episodes, but a lot of things change, and I think
A lot of things change.
that's it's an awesome sign of the trajectory you're heading on with everything you're doing.
Thanks.
But like a lot of people who want to do a lot of things, and someone who is doing many different ventures at once, the question always becomes how. And I think that's a few key components that I want to dive into you with. Yeah. Number one, I think in order to figure out how you're going to do all these things, you have to master time allocation and leverage. Not only leverage of capital and resources, but also with personnel. Hiring and creating those systems. Systems are a huge component of that. And I think the other two pieces are you have to have a clear vision. I think we've talked about this a lot and on the podcast too. The last episode we talked about rough estimate of kind of my vision. What do I want to do? And as we're talking through the podcast, this is something that I'm working through as well alongside the listeners. Taking that next step of going to the new phase of entrepreneurship. But being clear on your vision allows you to focus on the right things now, so you can accomplish that. And I think the last piece that's really important to this is having that sense of synergy and knowing your role in your company, which comes with understanding where you want to go. So I know I talked a lot there, but I want to dive into some of the things you're thinking about now. As you're opening new ventures, you're taking on different businesses, you're hiring agents, growing a team. That's a lot different than, say, 3 years ago, just selling a house.
Absolutely.
So talk me through your mindset shift. What are you thinking about now that you might not have been a couple of years ago?
Yeah, so I think it comes down to the evolution of myself as a human being and also myself as an entrepreneur. And like you said, it's implementing people and systems and streamlining operations so that you can become more efficient. But when we're making decisions and we're launching new ventures or we're adding some kind of new piece to the existing business, I don't look at it like I need to bite off so much. I just need to bite off a little bit that complements what I'm already doing. Because if I was to jump into a whole different category of a space, I would be extrapolating and taking so much energy from myself, where the business I currently have would fall victim to that. And that business that I may start may not even get off the ground. So I look at who I currently have in my circle, who I can bring into my circle to then add to this next business or to the current business to take time away from me, right? So that I have more time to allocate to more things, or that business, or my investments, or my relationships, or whatever that may be. But my mind always comes back to efficiency and what I'm good at. And 3 years ago, I don't think I necessarily knew what I was ultimately good at and what I should invest in 100%, right? So I just took everything for a matter of fact and said, I'm gonna do the paperwork, I'm gonna handle all the client showings, I'm gonna handle all the negotiations, I'm gonna go to all the inspections, the appraisals, I'm gonna manage all my properties, I'm gonna source the deals, I'm gonna find the deals, right? There was just all this stuff up front that I felt like I needed to do because I didn't know what I was best at. But then throughout the last 3 years, I figured out what I'm really good at. And what I'm really good at is the higher level decisions and also the analytical side of it. So I'm big on numbers, understanding metrics, understanding the financial position that we're in as a business or myself is in, and then making strategic decisions to put myself in a successful place. All the minutia in between, the paperwork, the showings, the appraisals, the inspections, the underwriting, I can be good at it, but I'm not best at it. So I've offloaded that onto team members, transaction coordinators. I now hired a new assistant who we call an agent partner, Maddie Parvey. She's a newer agent, just joined We Closed Deals last year, but she found that she needed guidance and support, but wanted to increase her awareness of what's going on in real estate. So I brought her on to kind of offload that extra piece of showings, inspections, appraisals, and all the minutia that I'm not great at.
Well, and what's funny is, you looking back on it, I'm assuming, now that she's implemented, I would imagine you would feel like you couldn't do it without her.
Yeah.
But 3 years ago, those tasks you didn't know how to do without, because you always had the mindset of, if I want it done right, I'm going to do it, or I'll take this over. But that's a big reframe that I think a lot of entrepreneurs miss, because inevitably, the traditional values of you want something right, do it yourself, or why would I bug someone to have them help me with this task when I can do it? Yeah. But instead, it shifts from how am I going to do all these things to who do I need, to build all those things.
And how can you move faster to accomplish the goals, right? You may have a 20-year goal of you want to have, say, for instance, right, I want to have the biggest real estate team in the Northeast. I want to have 1,000 multifamily units. How do I compress that from 20 to 10 years, and maybe from 10 years to 5 years? I can't do it all myself. Sure, I could do it amazing, but can I do it not amazing, but great with people behind me that get me there quicker? I think so.
Absolutely. And I think that's a big piece too, that it might not be apparent to everyone, but when I was talking with Ashley and Tony on the last podcast, we were talking about Pace Morby's idea of building your Mount Everest, which is your ultimate, massive life goal for you and your business. And I think even in what you said, it becomes apparent whether or not, in your head you're thinking like this. But when you say you want to build the biggest real estate team in New England, obviously that's a huge goal. For me earlier on the show, I was talking about I want to buy a bank. Yeah. And see, it makes you laugh. That's the exact reaction you should have to your goal, or someone else should have, is you smile and laugh because of how crazy it would be if you accomplished it. Right. But then once you set the timeline, it makes the actions you take now a lot more clear and a lot more immediate. Right. I know I've seen some of the comments we've shared back and forth on the matter, but when it's like I don't know the quote exactly, but urgency is the true sign of a successful or devoted entrepreneur. Absolutely. So once you know, okay, my goal is this massive thing, it's this Mount Everest, I want to do it in 10 years. People will probably laugh and say you're crazy. Perfect. Love it. And then once you do, that step you take to hire that assistant or that agent or add that partner that you might not otherwise have thought to do, because without the timeline, time feels infinite. That's the traditional crutch to a lot of people in their business is, I have so much time, I'll do it tomorrow. Right. There is no tomorrow. So do it today. But once you take that step, you realize, wow, I can do so much more with the right people and the right steps. And I can take these steps now. I don't have to wait.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I think it's super important to recognize your weaknesses and strengthen them to the point where you're so comfortable that you can then offload that weakness, right, to somebody else that maybe can do it better than you. And I think Dan Martell talks about it all the time with Buy Back Your Time. I know we keep referencing this book.
It's a great book.
It has created the foundation, I think, for you, for me, where we start to think in ways of, okay, my time is worth X dollars an hour. Is this task that I'm doing or wasting my time at, is it worth that amount? Right. It might not be, right? Like, for instance, something that recently I've come to grips with in my fitness journey, but also my health journey, is, do I really want to spend an hour shopping for groceries and then an hour cooking a meal 3 times a day, or 45 minutes cooking a meal 3 times a day? No, I should just get meal delivery, right? Meals that are made to hit my macros that I can just heat up for 2 minutes and eat. And then I'm working on other things, or working on things while I'm doing that.
It changes the game. And I think in that same conversation, I think a lot of people misunderstand that philosophy, because people will think you're not doing something because you think you're better than that job. You're too good to cook your own meal, or you're above mowing your own lawn.
I am.
Well, no, yeah. I mean, it's true though. It's true. Yeah. But because your time is better allocated elsewhere, right? And that you have to accept as well that there are people who are better than you at certain things. Like, you're a landscaper, probably better at you than cutting the grass.
My brother's so much better than me.
Exactly, brother.
He is. Yeah.
He's got it down.
Yeah.
So there's an efficiency by understanding that within yourself. Like, what are you good at? What are your weaknesses?
Yep.
And how and who can you get to fill those voids? But I think the conversation also is relevant from the capital perspective. What I mean by that is, like, a lot of times when people have excess capital when they're early on in their journey, their first thought is to invest it, but they don't look in, they look out. So they go, I'm going to put money into real estate, which, if that's your goal, absolutely, call us.
Talk to us.
We'll get you set up. But love real estate. But as they're doing that, one, they're redirecting their time and energy towards something else. But you lose, it's almost a lack of confidence, I feel, in some cases, where you don't want to pour it back into your business. And something that I've really focused on this year is, well, if I was going to spend X amount in real estate, let's drop that by 50% and put 50% back into my business. Let me hire that, that executive assistant or that marketing manager or that new team member.
Yeah.
And I think that from the buying back your time perspective, that return is infinitely more than I would ever get in real estate. If I could hire someone to free up 30 hours of my week, what could I do with 30 hours?
It's a game changer.
A lot more than 4 to 5% appreciation on a multifamily.
Oh, for sure.
So it's understanding that timing piece, I think, that's super critical. I know for you at this stage, with what you have going on, the systems investments, important, not just monetarily, but from the effort standpoint. So what are some things systematically that you are looking at right now in your businesses that are maybe you haven't figured out yet, or you're at least top of mind?
Yeah, I think nearly every day I find something that I could systematize or be better at. And as of recent, I found that, maybe for my real estate investments, when I am fielding a tenant's complaint or a tenant's maintenance request, rather than me going and responding to that tenant and wasting the 15, 20, 30 minutes at a time, maybe an hour of headspace because I'm thinking of what I need to do, what I need to order, who I need to call, right? That I should position myself to almost be hands off when it comes to those things and have someone, an AI assistant, an assistant who's fielding all of that for me and just giving me the high level bullet points. That's just one example.
And I think that's a really important point I want to touch on. It's not just the lack of time that you lose for doing the task, but what I find, the people who are laser focused, they never change lanes.
Never.
So if you think about being on a train, a train's so efficient because it doesn't take turns.
It just goes.
It just goes.
Yeah.
So for example, let's say you were, Monday morning, whatever your Monday morning routine is, but say you're starting off with high level business planning and you're thinking about the vision for the year and hitting those goals. Tenant calls you, says, I'm locked out of my apartment. You just broke your whole train of thought. Then you have to go actually redirect your attention to deal with the problem. Yeah. Then there's a lag time to get back into the groove that you were.
And a loss of energy.
Loss of energy. And that's your biggest asset, is your effort, your energy and your focus. Yeah. So I think the attention piece is another part that I'm learning as I'm going through this phase too. Where you direct your energy is equally as important as what you direct it away from. And cutting out those almost, I don't want to say shiny objects, but the distraction in the mirror. If you can just stay laser focused on one thing, you'll go so much farther than trying to pick up all the little pieces and take the tenant phone calls.
Yeah. And so much farther quicker too. And I think that's what we all want as efficiency. When we buy a building, right, we look at how can we make this building run as efficiently as possible and receive the most return by making that building as efficient as possible, by increasing rents, by doing cosmetic updates, by maybe a new roof, a new boiler system, whatever it may be. And you have to look at that and bring it into your business and your life, right? So my business, I'm looking at now, and this is just kind of a system, is time blocking. So I am just focusing on high level. So for the first 2 hours of the day, from the minute I wake up, rather than me eating food and going to the gym, I'm switching my schedule to where the first 2 hours of wake up, I'm just focusing on high level thoughts, high level tasks. What does my business or businesses, what do they need immediately? And then what can I do long term to get us to our goal quicker? And then in the later time of the day, in the evening, or maybe when things aren't so busy or crazy, that's when I'll put my gym in there, right? So have like time blocking where the first 2 hours of the day, high level thoughts. Maybe from 8 to 10, if I'm up at 6, 8 to 10 after that, the next 2 hours is prospecting, focusing on client engagement, tasks to my assistant, right? Whatever those things can push then my other businesses in a direction where it's not me.
Love that.
Yeah.
Love that. And I think that was a common theme we were talking about. I've talked about many times in the podcast with a lot of like high-level entrepreneurs. It takes a while to get to that point, but you realize your calendar is everything. Because that, if you follow it correctly, directly controls your attention and energy. Yeah. And if you frame it right and structure it right, the only tasks you're doing all day, they could be on different use cases. So they could be talking about hiring someone for a staging company versus hiring someone for real estate, but it's all in the same lane. Yes. So you're still laser focused because you structured your schedule in the right way. And how did you get to that point to figure out this is the way I want to structure my day? What were some thought exercises you did, if any?
So it came pretty naturally, and it was actually funny enough. I know like New Year's resolutions, people say, oh, they change their schedule, they do these things. It kind of just happened naturally around the new year. Because now in 2026, I'm looking at a shift in my personal life too. Welcoming a baby in the next, 12 weeks or less. Really depends on the birthday, but that's going to significantly alter what I can do in a day. So becoming more efficient in my scheduling is only going to assist my businesses while this new personal life happening is changing everything else. Sure. Right? So if I don't have a time block where I know that from this time to this time I can focus on my businesses, I'm going to lose it. Right. And unfortunately, I can't in the position I am, and neither can Brooke. Right. So we have to systematize our own life schedules to work for our businesses now. So it's almost like I'm taking on an entirely new form of business with welcoming a life. And I'm excited and I'm grateful and I'm happy, but it's going to be new, right? And the baby isn't going to be able to survive on its own. It needs Brooke and I whenever it needs us. So if I can at least time block early in the morning, as soon as I wake up, that time frame where I can focus on my businesses, I know that I'm accomplishing something.
Love that. And I think as you do that too, I would imagine that gives you the same ability to, as you're time blocking for the business, time block for the family time.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really important piece because it's the same concept that we were just talking about with directing your energy to different business tasks. Same thing with family time. Which is something I've personally tried to focus on. And ironically, that schedule shift for me happened around the new year too. It wasn't something I set out to do.
It just happened.
It just happened.
Yeah.
I knew it was time to take control. But even blocking that, okay, these 30 minutes in the morning and these 30 minutes at night or whatever you come up with, this is for, me and my family. Yeah. So my phone's, not next to me for these 30 minutes. No one's going to die in 30 minutes. Any text you get back in 30 minutes, still pretty fast. And there are times of the day when no one's really working. Right. For the most part. Yeah. But you have that ability to just be present. And I think that in the life of an entrepreneur, those moments can be rare. Super rare. But being intentional about how you structure things, you can make it more common.
Definitely can. And it's a work in progress too, right? I don't have it figured out 100% yet. No. And I think that's just, being an entrepreneur is you figure things out as they come and as they mold and as they move. And what I'm finding, the more that I add to my plate, the better I'm getting at figuring out what makes sense for my life.
Yeah, trial and error.
Yeah, trial and error. And leaning on mentors, whether they're people in person or people that are doing it close to me, is super beneficial, but also the ones that are online. A Dan Martell, an Alex Hormozy, a Grant Cardone, whoever it may be, that now welcoming in a life form into my life, even though I have Sonny too, is looking at it from another lens. Right. As how do these mega entrepreneurs operate at a high levels while still catering to their families?
Right.
I think it's super important. I've never really been one to believe in work-life balance. I think that if you say I need 50% work and 50% life balance, and you're an entrepreneur, you're leaving a lot on the table. I think like you said, those rare moments and rare occasions, take advantage of them when they come, but you can never necessarily say, I'm full in on this side or full in on that side. Because when you need to be full in on the work, you have to be 100% on the work.
Right.
That's just the way our life is, and it's the way it's structured naturally.
Exactly, and I think it just dramatically changes what's possible.
Yeah.
If you're someone who said, I want to build a company and be 50-50, your growth of your company is already limited exponentially, different than someone who was not. Because I think a lot of times people don't realize, like, when you're building a business, it's a living, breathing thing.
It is.
Like, you are involved in that all the time on multiple capacities, and it needs your attention just like, your family. Sure, I think 50-50 could be like a 25-year goal,
Yeah.
Maybe I work 30 hours a week, but the 30 hours of work I do are on the high value decisions. Rather than making a $5,000 decision today, I'll be making, $500,000 decision or more.
Right.
But in the beginning, it's almost impossible. You just have to take those moments.
Yeah. And your attention for your business is the oxygen of the business.
100%. And it was funny, we were talking earlier, even on my solo episode, about I truly believe that entrepreneurship comes in phases. And I think the first phase is you're doing the thing. You got to figure out how to sell the house, how to get the client, and you're doing everything.
All of it.
Solopreneur. And at the very end, you start to call yourself an entrepreneur, but you're not. Then you actually go into the phase of, all right, let me figure this out. If I were to double my business tomorrow, what happens? Well, usually the case is you implode. You don't have systems, you don't have people.
Yeah.
So you start to figure out that next evolution. And I remember when Patrick Bet-David, when we saw him speak, he was talking about that mindset of like, okay, 0 to 100,000 revenue, here's your problems. Here's your focus points. And 100,000 to $1 million to 10 million. And it's funny because I genuinely think in that context where you always have something to look forward to in the book of entrepreneurship because there's a whole new set of skills waiting for you.
Right.
Once you own 5, say, 7, 8 figure companies, that's a different phase than starting the companies. Now your growth metrics are different. Your competition's different. The market dynamics are different. And your thoughts are different. At that point, you're a full-blown CEO.
Yeah.
That's a lot different.
500 to 3,000 people rely on you every single day to feed their families.
Yeah.
It's like a whole nother ball game.
But a really even more fulfilling mission.
Super inspiring.
Yeah, I think that's a really cool thing. I saw a quote somewhere. It might have been Hormozy, but he said, "Because of me, 500 families eat today." I was like, "That's pretty powerful."
That's pretty cool.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But I think one common theme across the whole thing, which touching on what you said, is like at every phase, the one thing that I've found, and I believe this was also Hormozy. If you can't tell, if people listen, I love Alex Hormozy. I think his intellectual thought leading is just on a
he's
different
very
level.
insightful.
Very insightful.
Yeah.
But anyway, this basically was the idea of imperfect action is the best step you can take in any revenue business. I don't know the exact quote, but imperfect action at every stage of the game. So yes, you have to be calculated. But you have to figure out if the decision is going to be like a defining decision or if it's inconsequential. If it's what color or what should we order the team for lunch today? Who cares? Get a pizza. It's not something I need to be involved in. But if it's, should we rebrand the company or should we acquire this new business? Those are the big decisions. So if it's not a big decision, it's something small, then just take the step and keep going.
Keep going.
If you're going to hire someone, don't worry about laying out the perfect onboarding plan or worry about something I did myself for a long time. I was like, okay, if I'm going to hire this person, I need to have the systems and the platform and the dashboard.
And they need to be perfect too.
Correct.
Yeah.
Forget it. Get a general idea, roll with it, and you'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, you as an entrepreneur, you're invested so much and you care so much, which is great, but that can be a crutch sometimes.
It absolutely can. It's like analysis paralysis.
Yeah.
Right. I hear investors say it all the time. oh, I just need to jump onto this building. I just need to do something. But I'm stuck behind, the lens of looking at exactly what my return is and, the potential risks of investing this amount of money by not having it in my bank account and and then they're missing out on deals, right? If they just said, okay, I know enough to make a important decision on this that could change my life in this direction, but I understand that the risks are X, do it, they would have already bought 5 buildings.
And be worth a lot more.
And worth a lot more money.
Yeah. And I think the money conversation is interesting too. Like how people think about money is so different.
It's true.
And I think like your average entrepreneur thinks about like the money first. And an interesting reframe I was having in a conversation with Tony and Ashley in the last episode, or depending on the sequence, could be the next episode, was Tony's philosophy was really interesting. And I guess it aligns with Pace Morby and his belief in this type of stuff. But the idea that the money is a byproduct of your vision and of the problems you solve. So the bigger problems you solve, the more money comes.
Yeah.
And if you're not making the type of money you want to make, you're not solving big enough problems.
Right.
I thought that was a really interesting perspective because I think sometimes entrepreneurs do miss that, especially in the planning process.
For sure.
They're revenue based. I want to do $1 million, $2 million in sales. So that means I need to sell 3 houses a month or 10 houses a month at X per house, which means on an average of 10 clients, I usually close 5 in every 60 days. Do all the math. KPIs are great. You need that.
You do.
But effectively, that's done nothing. You haven't figured out how you're going to get the clients, how you're going to handle the clients.
Or what kind of clients you need.
Where they are,
yeah.
Who they are,
yeah.
Your demographic, your marketing initiative. So I think rather than a goal like that, I think it's almost a reframe of, well, what do I want my client experience to be like? If someone sold a $200 million house, what would that client experience be like?
Right.
And you figure out that piece. And for me, in my business, that's something similar, where if you're a team that's doing, say, $200 million in loans, why are they doing $200 million in loans? What is their customer experience like? What are their agent partners getting for value?
Yeah.
How can I create those systems? And feasibly in a year, what's the most change I can make in my business? Then backtrack to, okay, what's my 90-day plan? And then what in my schedule can I put every day that makes sure I move towards that?
Definitely.
So I think sometimes that's a good reframe for people, because I don't think money is the direct goal. And even for you, I think it's more of the bigger vision.
Yeah. I think you have to look at your legacy. And I always say to people, right, like, okay, when I have grandkids, what are they going to care about most? Are they going to care about the 8-unit building I sold for a record-breaking price in Southbridge, Massachusetts in 2023? And I tell them about the building and what it looked like and the windows it had and what kind of tenants were there? Or are they going to care about the client experience and what this person was able to accomplish and the story behind that person or behind those clients or behind that family, and what that building, if I sold it for the seller or I helped someone buy it, what that building was able to do for that legacy of that family, right? Are my grandkids going to care about the number, or are they going to care about the story? They're going to want the story.
Absolutely.
It's the same thing when I think about my life experience. Are my grandkids going to care that I worked 110 hours a week, or are they going to be unbelievably marveled at the amount of places I saw in the world?
Probably the latter.
And what their parents were able to see in the world. So I think experience is, like you said, that client experience, that vision of what that could look like for somebody is what you'll be telling forever throughout your legacy, rather than just a number on a sheet or a number on a dashboard, whatever it may be.
100%. I think it's all, like you said, the experiences of the customer interactions and vendors, but also just the lives you impact along the way.
Yeah.
Because of what you're building, all of the contacts that you use are getting more business. They're feeding their families. They're making more money. And the end product, if it's a flip, is better for the end buyer. And there's a lot of good that comes from having that mindset.
Right. And we are in such a transactional business that I think it's hard for people to separate themselves from being, in a way, transactional. But if you're able to have that shift out of your frame of just, I'm going to sell $200 million this year worth of real estate, to I'm going to change the perspective and the experience that 200 different people had with me, is completely different.
Right. I'm going to make sure 200 people have such an awesome experience that they can't stop talking about us.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's the brand. Once people start, you master the experience, the rest comes.
Yeah.
I'm sure you've seen in your business already, you take really good care of people, they're going to appreciate it and tell their friends.
And it just comes back. And that's why I've always loved this idea of what money is. I forget where it came from, but money is an exchange of energy, right? It's not an actual physical note necessarily, but you receive more of it by exchanging energy in reciprocation for it. Does that make sense? So if I'm giving somebody a great experience, and I continue to give them a great experience by buying real estate and investing in real estate, and then they refer me to 5 other people, my energy, the way I treated them, the way I was with them, sure, the byproduct of my energy is that I made X amount by selling these properties or selling them these properties. But then that energy exchange gave me 5 more people to give energy to.
Right.
To, sure, byproductly make money from. But the energy just continues. So I think for you to build capital, to have capital, to continue to retain capital, your energy has to be in line with it.
Yeah, I agree with that, and I think the amount that you pour into something in terms of energy generally tends to come back to you, as long as the thing that you're pouring into is conscious or aware of your effort. So, like, what I mean by that is, like, if you take someone who has a 9-to-5 job, works, punches in, punches out, same salary, well, inherently, that system doesn't allow for this exchange.
Right.
Because between 9 to 5, no matter how hard you work, your check is the exact same.
Yep.
So fundamentally, I think that framework, is set up for the entrepreneur.
Definitely.
And I think I've had this conversation before, but I think a lot of the entire American economy, the tax code, the investing code, the way that business and capitalism works in our country is entirely favoring the entrepreneur.
Oh, for sure.
And I think the American dream used to be white picket fence and a house.
Yeah.
But it should be own a business. Take control of your life. I think so many people have ideas, but they're either too scared, they're overanalyzing, or they're in the wrong network. The people around them aren't thinking the same. Because if you get in the right room, we talk about it all the time. If I know someone who has a W-2 job, they have an awesome idea, I'm like, dude, quit your job.
Yeah.
I call my brother. I talked to my brother today, talked to him yesterday, said the same thing. I'm like, dude, quit your job.
You told him last week too.
I told him last week. He's like, why? I'm like, because say you work 40 hours a week, whatever you make X, you're telling me if you put that into something else that you bet on yourself, you won't make as much?
Or more.
Or more, and have more purpose?
Likely more.
I go, 1,000% you will.
Yeah.
And I think getting more fulfillment, more enjoyment. He's in a little bit different of a spot. He's still doing some stuff on the side. But I think that point is so valid of like, you just don't believe in yourself enough. So don't doubt yourself. Like, if you want this, if money's the objective, then you have to look at opportunities that you can pour into that will pour back to you.
Oh, 1,000%.
And unfortunately, that's probably not, a W-2 job.
Yeah, and there's merit to that, right?
Of course.
I mean,
there's great jobs.
I look at it like, okay, a grandfather that's worked at the same company for 30, 40 years, has a pension. Like, sure, he was loyal to that company, gave his all, right? There's something about that.
Absolutely.
There's merit to that.
Absolutely.
But I always go back to the experience that life entails and what you can get from those experiences and what you can garner and what you can give. So I always think about legacy. I'm like, what will I be telling my grandkids? That I just said, okay, this job is great. I'm going to stick it out for the next 30 years because it's secure. I know what I'm making. I know what I do. I'll have a quote unquote average life. Or I take a risk. And maybe I fall on my face once, twice, 3 times. Something doesn't pan out. But when it does, what am I going to be able to share with my grandkids? All the times that I fell on my face, but look where I am now.
Right.
This business was a success. It provided for your parents, now you guys, and look at the things that I was able to do over my life by taking a chance on myself and who I believed I was. 100%. I think it's super important.
So important. So important because I think, like you said, there's a lot of merit, of course, to having a steady job and taking care of your family. I mean, my grandfather, he passed last year. He was 98 rather. Well, I should say coming up on his 98th birthday. But he worked at Stop and Shop for 40 years.
Wow.
He started as a bag of groceries, worked his way up. He actually went, long story short, he got accepted into BC to go into their aeronautics program. And he left, got drafted to the military. When he came home, his family needed him, so he went to work. And he stayed at Stop and Shop, worked his way up, and took care of his family. So, there's a lot of merit to that.
Definitely.
Absolutely. But that's what he wanted. He wanted to be the strong family figure that was predictable. And there's definitely a lot to be said for stability. But I think, again, that's aligning it with your vision. Because I think, yes, circumstances are different for everybody.
For sure.
And there's definitely some really challenging circumstances.
And generationally.
100%. So I'm not discrediting that as, there's definitely some people who have a tougher climb than many. But I still don't believe that you're limited by your circumstances. I think your surroundings, the people, your network, your resources, those are the biggest drivers of what can create, how quickly you can move things. So if you had someone who was in a W-2 job and they're like, well, I need the income from my family because I don't have time to go do anything else. Well, I would argue that you need to talk to more people.
Yeah, absolutely.
Meet someone else who has the same passion as you, same vision. Maybe you don't have all the time, but you have something that they don't. Maybe you have a little bit of, better vision. Maybe they're really good at doing the work. Find those people that fill the voids. Then eventually, sure, if you wanted to leave your W-2, you built the system. Yep. I'm not saying take a leap of faith and start a business. Well, I am saying that. But if you can't, not everyone can do that. But I think if you surround yourself with the right people, I think anything's possible.
And there's a quote that I come back to on that, right, for 9-to-5ers. But I also think this way too. And I'm paraphrasing terribly. I don't remember who it's from. But they go, you have a 9-to-5, but then your 5 to 9 is what will replace your 9-to-5 eventually. Mm-hmm. And the 5 to 9 is what is building wealth. Right? The 9-to-5 might be security, but your 5 to 9 after work, whatever you're doing in those hours, because there's plenty of time to go to a networking event, to call someone on the phone, to hop on a Zoom call, to read a book, to connect in some type of way, right? That 5 to 9 is where you're really going to make that jump and that leap to leave your 9-to-5, where you can then envision building more wealth and building a business.
100%. And I think for some people, they might say that's great, but I don't want to work 5 to 9. Okay, then your outcome is just limited, which is fine. And if that's your goal, some people really enjoy the work-life balance thing. If that's your goal, great. You'll be a great employee for a company. You'll get treated well, and it's an awesome career path. But I think sometimes people, when you talk about money, I think people always say, must be nice, going on vacation, or must be nice driving a brand new car. And so I just made different sacrifices, and I think. And
I'd say to that, it is nice.
It is nice.
And I've said that before. Mm-hmm. I've had someone say, pull up in a new car. Oh, how many cars do you have? 2. I have 2. They go, must be nice. I go, no, it actually is nice because I've worked my fucking ass off for it.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I came from nothing and now I have something.
Yeah.
But that's the thing, right? Is I put the energy in to deserve to say, it is nice.
It is nice.
It is nice.
Absolutely.
And I think having that reframe of, because people do get timid, right? And entrepreneurs with money, they walk in and there's that imposter syndrome, right? Like they've known people from their past. They go to a local event. They pull up in a brand new BMW or whatever it may be. They have a beautiful house. Everyone's looking at them. You kind of feel like, oh, maybe I shouldn't be here. You know, I have more than them, or I do this.
Yeah.
Like entrepreneurs get weird about that. And I've been in that position. I have.
It's the changing of circles.
But the thing is, you have to be able to look at yourself outwardly but inwardly as well, and appreciate where you came from, the amount of time and sacrifice that you've put into your life to be where you are now.
Absolutely. Yeah. You have to reward yourself with that comfort. Like you put in the time, you deserve this.
Yeah.
And I think that's a hard thing for entrepreneurs to grasp.
It definitely is.
Like they feel like not that they don't deserve it, but that they're almost they're bragging just by enjoying the things that their life afforded them.
Right.
So I would definitely say to people, listening, don't let that hold you back. And if you're nervous going into a room because you're driving a nice car, you're in the wrong room.
It's true. Yeah.
Because
if you're driving a BMW, you got to go to rooms where people are driving Maybachs or Rolls Royces.
100%. Yeah. And that humbles, not that you get ego, but it keeps you grounded.
It does.
The conversation that you have with some people, if your goal is to make $1 million, you meet a guy making 10, changes your whole perspective.
Changes it. Yeah.
Changes your whole perspective.
And I think too, the money subject is, right, people get greedy about it. They say that, I want to make all this money, I want to do all those things. But what can you do with the amount of money that you're going to make? What's the impact you can have and the influence you can have on a local community or a charity or some kind of organization that is fostering a better life for people or just enhancing some community that you're in, right? Like I look at it and sure, I want to be worth 9 figures someday, right? I absolutely believe that I could be worth 9 figures someday. But I have such a large vision for the impact I want to make in local communities that I've spent my life in, that my family's from, that causes that, are near and dear to my heart. From experience that I've had in my life, right? And the changes that I can make by being worth 9 figures. Sure, I could have all these lavish things. I could do all these amazing, go on these amazing trips, have a beautiful life. That's awesome. But what else can I do to give back?
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I think I don't think enough people think that way too. But that's something that, for me, I've always loved the videos where the guys go into the grocery store and they're like, I'll buy you, they see someone struggling to put together the money, like, I'll buy you groceries.
Yeah.
And not even the stuff necessarily that's big and bold, but just the little stuff. You walk up to a family in a challenged neighborhood, you see them working on their car, I'll buy you a new car. What do you want? Let's go to the dealership. And that type of stuff to me is, because it doesn't have, those type of things not everyone sees, and it's fine. But you just make such an amazing impact on someone's family.
And it makes you feel great too, and you don't need to publicize it, right? Like I was at a gas station down the street, and I was just picking up an energy drink before the gym. This is maybe like a month and a half ago. I pull up on the side. There's a grandmother and it looked like it was a younger boy, but it looked like he was her. What would you call that?
Grandson?
No, he lived with her. Like she was basically the guardian of him.
There you go. Yep.
And and I heard her when I was walking in, go and give this to the clerk for gas, right? And I'm checking out and I'm spending like $4 on an energy drink.
Yeah.
And he goes, can I get $2 on one? Dude, broke my heart.
Yeah.
And I slipped the guy, I had like $40 in my pocket. And I slipped him, I was like, hey, just throw this on one for them. And I walked out.
That's awesome.
I just drove away. But like that's like that $40 to me. Sure, that's a considerable amount of money just for me giving away $40.
Right.
But I've been in that position growing up in my life.
Yeah.
Where like my dad's like, hey, throw $5 on 3. Right? Like $5, it's 2 gallons. What does that get you? 40 miles?
Yeah, maybe.
You know what I mean? What is $2 going to get that person?
Right.
They're going to go from that gas station to home and back. That's not very far.
No.
You know what I mean? So like me throwing $40 was goodwill to them, but also just having the resources myself to be able to take care of someone.
Love that.
It was just like kind of like pat on my back for myself.
Absolutely.
Not that I was like, went on Instagram and like right after that, I was like, hey, I just gave $40 to this person. Like, I don't really need to gloat like that. I don't care. But it was such an emotional experience where I was just like, yep, okay, that's it.
and the work you put in afforded you that moment.
Yeah.
So it's like as much as it affords you the cars, it affords you those moments too.
Yeah.
Which that's something that I look forward to those opportunities. So
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
Well, as we wrap up here, I mean, I loved our conversation as always.
It was great, man.
We could keep going for a long time. One question I asked earlier, and I think will be couldn't think of a better person to ask it to, just with how you come on. We'll keep you on as a recurring guest, of course, if you'll keep coming.
Absolutely.
But I asked this question. I know it's a loaded question, so don't feel like you have to go into infinite detail. But if you were to zoom out 10 to 20 years from now, from a high level, what do you envision that phase of your life looking like?
I go back and forth with exactly where I see myself in 10 or 20 years. And a lot has to do with family goals, on where I want my kids to be, where I want to be personally in my fitness journey, in my health journey, right? My relationships with family members and the things that I'm able to give them. But overarching, and I'd say 10 years, a decade. So coming up with my 28th birthday, I'll be 38, which is pretty wild to think
crazy,
about.
Yeah.
All right. Is to have a real estate team that is recognized throughout New England as one that not only sells a ton of real estate and helps families achieve their goals of home ownership, or people their goals of investing in real estate, but has the strongest connection to community and charitable give back, where we're donating hundreds of thousands of dollars a year to selected causes by our team members.
That's awesome.
I think having a tie to success and giving is huge. And then personally, in terms of like investment, to have 1,000 multifamily doors.
I love it.
I look at that number, and sure, to many it's a strong, it's a big hill to climb.
Yeah.
But based on the trajectory and the goals that I have, right, is 1,000 doors, in mixed ways. Whether it's A class and C class, just really depends on geographic. But 1,000 doors sounds great, and 5 kids by then too.
That's awesome. I love it. I love it, man.
Yeah.
I love it. And I didn't answer the question for myself last time, but the high level, I think, for me, if I were to define it in like one sentence, I think it'd be the season of control. I have complete control over my calendar.
I like that.
I have complete control over my finances. If I want to go on vacation tomorrow, I can do that.
Yeah.
If I want to leave work at 2 o'clock to go be with my kid, I can do that. If I don't want to answer emails, my team will answer emails. And I think that, to me, I know that when I get to that point, I'll have the systems in place to earn the income I want.
Yep.
But my 10 to 20 year goal would be just complete control.
Complete control. I like that.
I'm not stuck to my phone.
Yeah.
If I want to, I can. And I think that's such a different shift where I don't mind working, as much as I do. Well, sustained, it's a lot, 80, you do 100 hours, you get it.
Right.
But I want to be just fired up about the projects that I'm working on.
Yeah.
And just own front to back control of whatever I might be doing.
Yeah.
Have kids and be able to do whatever I want to do when I want to do it.
Yeah, so then I would say, rather than compartmentalizing my future, I mean, not to steal your thunder, but I love that frame, season of control.
Yeah.
And as we're both growing our businesses, I think that makes sense for the both of us in that 10 or 20 year vision, where we're able to just switch on the light and switch it off whenever we want.
Yep.
In any area of our life, in any
Absolutely.
investment, in any business, in any personal realm, is just be able to on and off when we want.
When you feel like it. I think your biggest asset is your time. I think the ultimate goal for me is be able to control it.
Yeah.
it's a beautiful thing.
It would be, yeah.
So
absolutely.
as we progress, we'll check in on and see how we're both evolving with the vision.
Season of control.
I love it.
I love that.
Awesome. Well, thanks as always, man, for coming on.
Yeah, man. Appreciate you having me.
Good stuff.